Daytime exteriors are one of the hardest things to make look cinematic because you don't control the biggest light source in the world, the sun. And if you don't plan for it, your image can end up looking flat, contrasty, or just not cinematic. Here, let's get into it. So if you're shooting homes, lifestyle, or commercial work, this matters. But it all starts before the shoot day, on prep. When you do your location scout, you gotta ask, when is this building gonna be backlit? When will there be sun rays coming across it to add texture? When does the home fall into shade? And when is the worst time of day to shoot this? But first, some coffee. Messenger light roast. I think I'm at the end of the bag. Sometimes having your subject or your house have zero light from the sun on it at all is best. It's better to control that exposure versus the sky versus it being front lit or side lit where you're having to control the contrast. So remember that backlighting is your friend. Shooting in the shade is your friend. And shooting at high noon is just not, unless you gotta do close-ups. It all starts with using Sunseeker. This app, plus with its 3D situation, and of course its map of where you're at, this matters. This is how you figure out where the sun's gonna be before you even get to the location. Then when you're on the location, use the camera view and find exactly where it's at and dial that all in. But don't show up just hoping. It's important to know where this is at because you can build your day around that. That's awesome. Once you know your time of day, then you begin to shape the light. Because let's be honest, you're not gonna overpower the light. It's the sun, the most powerful light. So it's all about shaping. Here, let's get into it. On this project, we used 12 by 12 ultra bounces and 8 by 8 ultra bounces. It's all about shaping that sun. Whenever we needed, we would sneak in the white side for bounce and the black side for negative fill. Now there's a sweet spot for negative fill. If you put a subject here and ultra bounce right here on the black side, that only does so much negative fill. But if you tent it, you're gonna get a little bit even more of that negative fill return, so it's blocking out more of that ambient light that's coming in. And if you push it all the way up and over and you still don't see it in frame, it's gonna be very, very strong. It might look good, but does it match the scene? Does it feel appropriate? Does the viewer, for some reason, all of a sudden be kind of taken out of this situation? Even down from the highlights, the contrast, the shadow side to the key side, balancing those to make it feel real, to make the viewer feel they're watching something real is definitely the goal. Is that cinematic? Yeah, I mean, I think that term gets thrown around a lot, and only things that are cinematic are things that are really shadowy. But I think making something cinematic is when you have a well-balanced image with no overexposure or no underexposure. It's a balance. It's something that if you just pointed a video camcorder at it, it wouldn't be able to hold all that. It would just be able to hold the most important information. Something that's cinematic is like, yo, we got the most important information, and we got that highlight back there, and we got the shadow side down here. I'm not saying to make it all look flat. I'm saying balancing all that. And when we have the talent placed in a position where the sun isn't wrapping around the way we needed, we would sneak in a shiny board and take that shiny board and shoot that straight into the ultra bounce and have that return. Still trying to keep it all within the same side of the sun. I'm not a big fan of having the sun over here and then having my key right over here. It's like, how did that happen? But if you see a lot of the sources over here, then it feels a little more natural to keep the key on the same side, as if it just somehow wrapped around and made all this shape. But totally coming from the opposite direction, that just feels fake. I know it's easy to cross light because it helps your composition, but it's just not the vibe. There's many times where we're on this shoot where we needed to use the M40 just to give even more of a punch. There's a scene when the dad is using a hedge trimmer up at the house, and we were very limited. We were able to sneak a jib arm in, get the camera right up against the house and the bushes. I mean, in reality, it would have been nice to us to just pull it off the wall a little bit, but there were some practical trees that really helped put in a frame to help soak up some more of the light. Without that tree on the left part of the frame, it would just be open to more brightness. And I'm just trying to shape this frame. I'm not trying to just let it just be all bright. Well, the sun was from over his right shoulder, so was our HMI, so we just had to sneak in the only place where we could, where we put up some muslin fabric on the house, taping it up there, just so that when it hit, it would fill in his face a little bit. And there is a balance, you need to fill enough so that the highlights weren't overexposed. Trying to find that balance that's the job. But I do have one little pro tip for you on how to avoid homes feeling flat or dead. If you're shooting a home during the day and it feels a little dead, that's because the lights aren't on. When you're inside, typically those lights are on and you need to be able to see. So if you turn on all the house lights, typically you're not gonna get enough exposure out of that. And the white balances could be all crazy and whatnot. So what we did was we brought in a bunch of shears, covered all the windows, and brought in a bunch of 2K open faces and just, found the right angle, but blasted them with light so that they had a little bit of glow, as if it was the inside interior lights. This helped the scene and the background feel even more real and more alive. It was a little trick that I've noticed that wasn't being done in the previous ads, and it's something that I wanted to bring to the table for this one. I just hate looking at a house during the day and you're having fun and it just is dead inside. Maybe the house doesn't have enough windows to make light kind of fill the space, or the windows aren't big enough, or just depending on your angle. One of the easiest ways and the tricks is just to bring in some shears and make that glow. That way you can't see inside, but that there is a little bit of light coming from it. All right, I'm back to it. So shooting daytime exteriors is one of the more tricky things to shoot in regards to balancing an image and making it look cinematic. But you can do it. It's about planning for the time of day, when and where to be shooting. You're not gonna overpower the sun, but you can definitely shape it. You can bounce light into your subjects and you can take light away with negative fill. And of course, if you're doing multiple scenes and you're able to use a large overhead, then sneak that in, and that really does help shape up the light. Now, I would say be careful to not use something too strong like a full grid or full silk, because it just then begins to change the realism of what the sun is doing. Because then it can make things feel a little fake. But definitely taking a little edge off that sun, totally worth it. And let's not forget, when shooting at home, the quickest and easiest way to make it not feel dead is sneak some tungsten lights in there and shoot it at some shears to make it glow. Thanks for watching. You can check out my website to learn more about my work at stevenscgrass.com. All right, peace. Don't forget, try to grow this channel, so like and subscribe.